guys.
Hey, how you
Hello,
doing?
Sully.
Good.
How's it going?
Hold on, let me take out my job name because this is like the Zoom that I use for work. So I have to like specify who I
Are
am
you
in these
allowed to
things.
to use a Zoom outside of work?
Yeah, so we have to like create our own account. I'm the attorney for like a specific company. So we have like a Zoom for the whole company, and I just have it always logged on because I use my laptop for work. So it's just like easier for me to use the same thing for everything. If not, I would have to be like logging in that one to go into my personal one. It's too much work.
Yeah, I was a police officer before I got medically retired, and I know because for the longest time my Zoom said Officer Marin on my
Yeah.
thing, so I had to switch back, and
For
then
like
yeah,
court things, right? You have to
yeah,
like appear.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
was gonna
I
ask, are you a defense attorney? Were you ever a defense attorney?
know. So I used to do insurance litigation,
Okay,
mostly like on the plaintiff side. So I did go to court and did all that stuff, but I rarely go to court now. So I switched more to like a corporate side where I do everything that the company needs, but litigate. So if they need to litigate, they need
yeah,
to go call somebody else so they could
yeah.
go and get stressed out and
How,
fight with
how
people.
how stressful is that? Probably you took the words right out of my mouth. I understand from the police officer side, it's kind of like, oh, we're always against like the defense attorneys, and it's kind of like this tension between each other and just fighting just to, we're all doing our job at the end of the day.
Yeah, so actually, I interned at the public defender's office in Miami-Dade
Ew.
for, I know, it's horrible. I did it for probably like a semester. It was like they gave you an option to take a class and not have to be like in class. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then I would see the cops having to like sit there and they would like just yell at each other. I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I can't.
Yeah.
It's very
Like my
stressful.
cousin's an attorney with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he's always got like three phones. One of them super, coded and protected.
Yeah.
Um, Different computers. Very like strict on what he can or can't do.
Yeah, his job is definitely more like top secret with a lot of things because if like something
Exactly.
gets hacked, like oh, it's like a big deal. You have a lot of like records and stuff. For me, I used to have two cell phones, but I couldn't keep up. Like one would always be uncharged, and that was usually the work one. So it was too much for me. So I just have my cell phone, and everybody calls me to my cell phone. The office line rings on my cell phone because the company is not here. The company is in Alabama. So I travel. This year, I haven't traveled as much, but usually I would travel at least 4 or 5 times a year for a full week. So everything I do is remote from the house. So it's like personal laptop, personal cell phone, and I just have like screens, for ease of reviewing things. But everything is done like in all my personal stuff.
I did want to dive into okay, speaking about your line of work with what we do in bodybuilding, um, how has that been like what have you found the most challenging when it comes to time management? Like how are you able to handle both simultaneously?
But Alex, before that, can you introduce yourself to the audience, to the crowd? Because we just kind of like hit the
We
ground
went
running with
Jumped right
those.
in.
Yeah, we got so many questions.
The thing is, like, I had to change the name, so we got excited. It was like, oh, so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, well, my name is Sujin Ceballos. People call me Sully. It's short for the long name. But I recently became an Ifbb pro in the wellness category in nationals in Texas in December. I'm an attorney. That's like my profession. I don't do bodybuilding full time. I know a lot of people do when they compete. I started this late in my career, I guess you could say. I started really focusing on bodybuilding when I was maybe in 2023. So I was already graduated from law school and I had already, established a career path. So for me, it was more like an outlet. I went back to the gym after a long time of just focusing on my studies and maybe not taking such a good care of my health. I got very unhappy where I was. physically more than anything, and mentally and emotionally, I wasn't feeling my best. So I realized that I had to make some changes. And that's when the world shut down pretty much, right? And I started working from home. So I started working out at the house with like videos and bands and whatever I had until the gyms reopened. And then that's when I went in and decided to get a coach. So I haven't been doing this for a long time. It's been what, 3 years, probably, maybe four. Um, so it's kind of different for me to find the balance to do everything bodybuilding.
You're still learning the balance.
Yeah, so I get better, I think, every prep. I think my first prep was very difficult for me. I didn't realize that my mental capacity wasn't going to be all there. So I wasn't able to do work, travel for work, keep up with the macros, keep up with the training, fly back home, take care of the house, then get back to work. It was all very hectic for me at the beginning. So navigating it is still like a work in progress for me, I would say.
That's something you get better with. I think every prep. This is probably my fifth show that I'm doing, and I would say this is the best I feel mentally, physically, and emotionally in all aspects because you get to find your stride, and once you hit that stride, in when you're going to school, you had to like structure yourself a certain way just to meet all the demands of like the classes, the tests, the papers, and all that stuff, and just like in bodybuilding, I think it's people like us need that structure, and once you get that structure, you're like, okay, A, B, C, D.
Yeah, I think bodybuilding is for people who are okay with that structure. I don't think if, of course, if you're going to take it seriously and pursue the pro card and potentially go and make it to the Olympia, and fulfill all those dreams that all the bodybuilders have. I think you need to have some type of structure. So for me, it looked very different when I didn't have to go to the gym, when I didn't have to worry about, oh, I have to eat. It's been 2, 3 hours. Oh, I haven't finished my gallon of water. When I was working in office, I didn't care about any of that stuff. If I made it to the gym, I made it. If I ate. If not, I would eat, something later with the people from the office. So even now that I do go into an office from time to time, it's like a whole different person. I am structured even when I'm there. Like I prep my meals when I'm there, I go grocery shopping when I'm there, I travel with my supplements, and I just make sure to keep everything as organized as possible, but with room for some type of error.
Yep, you gotta give
Do you,
yourself that
do you,
that
do you
time.
do meal plans or macros?
So at the beginning of my bodybuilding, I was accustomed to macros. I had a coach who would give me macros, and I would just make up my meal plan, which was very easy. After prepping with her, I won my first show with her. I didn't win the overall, but I won, first place in my class. And then we decided to do another regional show because I knew that I had to grow still to be really competitive. And I was also on a macro diet there. I also won my class, but I didn't win the overall. So after that, I decided to go with Christopher from Team Ludacris, and we decided to take an off season. So we decided to have a meal plan. So he gives me my meal plan every check-in. If things have to change, he changes them. But I have 6 meals, and I play with the ingredients that are in those 6 meals, but it's
Yeah.
all.
I always say it's really good for people to start off with macros so they have a good understanding of how to eye food. And so like now, let's say you're traveling for work and something is crazy and for some reason maybe one of the meals you prepped spilled somewhere or goes off or you need to make an adjustment, like okay, this amount of rice will mean this and you can kind of eyeball it better. I feel like a lot of people when they start with meal plans right away, they don't learn anything about macros and then they're a slave to what their coach tells them. And what if, for some reason their coach's phone dies or you're just so dependent and you're not able to take care of yourself. So it's probably good that that you started that way.
Yeah, and the good thing is also he gives me the meal plan, but he has like substitutions. So I already know how much 100 grams of like chicken is going to be in protein. And if I change it to ground beef, I have to just make sure that the fat percentage and like kind of mix my fats for the other meal. So I definitely think it's easier when you do start on the macro base because you get to understand the portions, which I think it's what people struggle with the most. I used to think that I was eating very healthy and I was perfectly fine, but I was eating giant portions of just like random things that weren't put together as to achieve a balanced nutrition,
Well, the fat is always what catches people up, like just the olive oil itself, right? Like that 1, 2 tablespoons could be a third of your day's intake of fat, and you just don't even know it. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
I would just cook with oil and sprinkle the oil all over salads, everything. And then I wasn't making any progress when I started doing all of this. And my coach was like, "What are you cooking with?" And I was like, "Olive oil? Like, doesn't everybody cook with olive oil?"
Yeah, right.
Bodybuilders.
I have to
You're like,
specify I didn't put canned spray on the plan.
She was, I didn't put that there. Like, those are not your fats. And I was like, I have to weigh it. I was like, I didn't even know. I was like, do I weigh it in the scale? Do I have to like water it down? So yeah, it was difficult at the beginning because you have to learn how to eat. And then you also have to learn how to excel in all the other areas of your life while you're also pursuing a dream. Because that's how it just started, right? It started as
a
I told my
hobby.
family, hey, I started going to the gym. Well, I'm gonna, maybe compete, but I don't know if I will, but it's something that I want to do. So my family was like, okay, that's a little weird. They're very like, I guess you could say like conservative. That's a good word. They're very like, why are you going to be on stage with a bathing suit? Like, you're a professional. Let me see if the sun's sorry. The sun is like crazy today.
And you're Venezuelan, correct?
Yes. So my mom actually is half Chinese, half Venezuelan,
Wow.
and my dad is Venezuelan. So
I
I
know they're
grew up,
very like, they're very like in line people.
yeah. So I grew up in a very strict household. Like I would have a strict time to go to sleep, and you ate whatever, was made. So it's all very like programmed to do everything that needs to get done. So I think for me in particular, I don't know of other people that have to balance it out so much. I don't think people realize how hard it is to achieve something that you may be losing time, losing money, um, being kind of let down here and there.
There's no
Um,
guarantees.
Right. And you're just doing it for fun,
Yeah.
right? But then people don't get that you also have to show up and go to work.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to pay for the dream.
So what
So,
sparked that interest though? Like how did you stumble upon wanting to compete in the wellness division?
so I didn't know anything about the divisions. I thought there was only like, the bikinis and the big girls that are, have a lot of muscle. And I was like, wow, like I want to have a lot of muscle one time in my life. Like, I was like, oh, just one show and I would never want to do it again. That was not the case. I went to a show and I was like, oh, wow, look at these people. Like they're putting in the effort. And then I was deep down in the YouTube rabbit hole of bodybuilding. And I stumbled upon all these big bodybuilders. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is a whole different world. Like people really do this. Like I thought that this wasn't a thing. Like maybe a few people liked it and that's it. But no, I was amazed at like the community and what everything was. Like I couldn't understand how you got from one place to the next. So like I would read the rules online. So everything was just me being curious and trying to see what other people were doing. And I was like, okay, I gotta find a coach because I don't know what I'm doing. Um, and I found this girl online. We clicked, and she took me through my first show. And it was one of the best experiences I ever had, if I am honest with you. I learned a lot about myself, but I also learned a lot of weaknesses in my character.
Mm.
That's what bodybuilding does to you, right?
Not
Yeah.
not everyone talks about that though. That's hey, that's really good. Let's talk about that.
Key
What were
point.
some of the things you learned about yourself?
So the biggest issue was I am the type of person that when I commit to something, I tend to mute everything else around me. And I realized that was affecting my personal life, my family life, my romantic life. And all of these people were always there, like encouraging me. They would buy me groceries, fill up my tank, and I would wake up, like my partner, I would wake up and my tank was full. And I was like dreading at like 3 in the morning, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get up earlier and have to go put gas before the gym. And those little things, or like they would weigh out my food and be like, oh, look, we weighed out your rice for today. And for me, that was like, oh, wow. But then also, I was like, raging. Like I didn't control my emotions. I was upset at like the fact that I was hungry and I didn't know how to deal with those feelings. And I was really tired and I was just fatigued. And I couldn't like work and be happy with like my coworkers either. So everybody kind of suffered a little bit that first prep. Um, I learned that I was like very reactive, like that I allowed a lot of little things to impact my emotional and mental state, which then affected like my progress. So I was constantly in this like up and down in emotions without being too regular. Like I wasn't allowing myself to regulate my emotions
You're
properly.
overstimulated, yeah.
Yeah, it was just a lot that I had to deal with, and I didn't know that it was affecting, like I was actually hurting those who were really assisting me in the process. So that was definitely one of the biggest things that I would say that I learned to keep an eye out, right? Because sometimes you're in autopilot and you just go, 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 and you kind of forget that the world is still going on.
I think what you're describing is a lot of people's first preps. I mean, if they're not used to it or they don't know what to expect, or you were still pretty new to the sport, so you probably didn't know quite as much about what to expect. Whereas if someone's been following sport for a long time, they kind of know, oh, a prep is supposed to suck. So it was probably, yeah, a little bit of just the first go at it, and then you know what to do this the second time or what to expect, and you probably started warning these people ahead of time.
Yeah, so for the second show, I did shows pretty close. I did my first one in May of 2023, and then the second one was in October of
I was
2023.
confused. When I went on the NPC News Online, it said you had done four regionals in 2023 and then the one Texas show in 2024.
No, so I did Clash. That was my first show. It was Clash in Orlando, October of 2020, May of 2023. And I think that was May 23 of 2023.
Okay.
And that one I got first place in Class C. And then I did the Ultimate Grand Prix here in Boca, October
We
14th.
did that one too. All of us.
That show went on forever.
That was a
I
long
was
show.
Especially when you win the show. Did you won the overall in that one?
no, I
Oh,
had
Casual
you
flex
would have
from
been there all night.
casual flex from G winning the whole thing.
I wish, but every show that I did regionally, I lost the overall. Every single one.
But it shows, hey, you don't have to win overall to get your pro card, and that in itself is amazing. How was that whole process for you, like going and what were your expectations and like were you surprised that you're getting the pro card or
So, so this is something that I'm struggling with right now, which, I just talked to my coach about. I wasn't expecting any of this. I didn't go in there with any expectations. I would actually pretty much tell everybody and people around me, like, no, I'm just going and we'll see. I'm just gonna go for the experience. It's my first nationals. I don't have a lot of muscle. There's girls, that are going and they're gonna be way more muscular than me, for the category. And you start seeing people online posting, counting down, and you're like, oof, competition is getting big. I mean, the class was like 25 girls, I think, for class C that for nationals. So I was like, no, we're doing this for fun. And my family went to Texas. So I was like, let's just make it a trip. We'll have a good time. I had a friend that lived in Texas, in El Paso, but close enough where she was able to fly in and we were able to see each other. So I took it as a trip. I took it as I'm going to compete, but I don't think I'm going to win this.
You're there for
So
the experience.
yeah, so I wasn't prepared for the pro card. I know this is something that people dream about, right? And it's something that people are like, oh, I'm going to win it. I'm going to go for it. I didn't really believe that I could. I know that sounds crazy to say. Like some people are like, oh, you need to believe in yourself. But I think I didn't believe in myself enough.
I think having, there's a fine line between, self-confidence and cockiness. But I think in life it just makes it easier when you believe in yourself, that positive self-talk. And I'm pretty sure that's what got you through lawyer school. I could imagine if every day you're like, man, I'm just doing this for fun, where would you end up? Would you be graduating? So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, self-talk I think is very important. You got the pro card for a reason.
Hey, it's all unique to the person. Like you, as long as you're training hard and you're putting yourself and you're really truly applying yourself, the results will come. Now, there's two types of people. There's people that I'm the best in the world, and that gets them to the gym applying themselves or following their meal plan. And there's people like Sully who are like, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And maybe it's the fear that drives you to train hard, or there's different things that motivate us. So it's like training with fear or training with ego. Like at the end of the day, if you know how to train and you follow your plan, like both are going to give you results. So I think it's unique to the person.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me is I try not to set high expectations because I feel like I'm very hard on myself if I don't achieve those expectations.
That
And I
makes
tend to obsess about it and like think about it and think about it and think about it. And sometimes it doesn't allow me to like move forward and really, okay, like what do we have to do to get to the next level? Um, and I think that that's why I was so hesitant with nationals. I wouldn't even like really post until like the end when I was like, okay, maybe I'm ready. Maybe I think that I look proper, to be on stage. But also it comes with that I don't do this all. I feel like this is a part of me, like an extension of me, but it's not all that I am,
It's
right?
not your
So
identity, yeah.
so since it's not all that I am, sometimes I feel like it may not be enough, right?
Yeah.
So
But
that's
do you
where
think you
that
have
self
do you think you have like imposter syndrome almost like because you see people that are so all in and so obsessed that and you're not that way that it makes you feel maybe even guilty for winning your pro card in a way? Like I don't
Yeah. So I think I've only talked about this with like very close friends, and my partner, just because I felt like when I was at nationals, there were people that you could see in their face that they were so let down that they didn't win the pro card, right? Or they didn't get first call outs. And you could see the pain when you really want something and you just don't get it. And you're like, man, I was so close, or I could have done it. And I never expected it. So since I didn't expect that win coming, because I had won my class, but I had never really won the show. I
Yeah.
thought you had to be the best of the best to, have a shot at your pro card at one point because it's so competitive. There's so many people, so many great athletes out there that I felt like, yeah, I am not as involved as other people are. So maybe I shouldn't have won the card. There's a girl who I'm friends with. We actually met on Reddit. We would post like our progress pictures when we first started like our changes, and we had never met in person. And she competed in that show, so that was the first
on
time
Reddit
we
of
met
all places.
Yeah,
like
Yeah, it's random.
in
Wow.
like 2020. And people would post like their things, and you see people there like giving you tips in the bodybuilding Reddit thread. They're like, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." So we met through there, and I was telling her, she was like, "I believe in you. This is your show. You're gonna do it." The night before, they were texting me. Her husband is her coach, and they were like, "You're gonna win this. You look so good." And in my mind, I'm like, "No, this might not be for me. We'll see what happens." So yeah, I do think that I feel guilty in a way sometimes, or I felt guilty when I got the card for sure.
I think, this is my first national show I'm doing. I'm gonna be doing Universe, after Chiseled. And I feel the same, that you feel is like this is my first national show. I have no expectations and just have fun and see where I go. But I also like teeter with the fact like, hey, I could probably do this, But I agree with the whole not having expectations because you don't want to be let down. So yeah, I could see that, but you bring up a lot of
Chris
a
and I
lot
had
of
a FaceTime before this earlier, and I told him I was like, okay, you're going to Chiseled. Obviously the goal is to win the overall because he won his class
Mhm.
last year. But at the end of the day, progress is progress, and especially in this sport, progress is the most important thing because it's almost more like you need to show up at your best as many times as you possibly can and then play the numbers game because at the end of the day, you never know who shows up and it's a subjective sport. Our buddy Simon, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago, so he and I did our first show back in 2021. No, 2022. He won the overall, his first ever show. And he's been competing and now he's been training for, 4 years now, 5 years now. And he's been making like crazy improvements ever since. But he just came second in his class in the DC
Oh,
Pro-Am. Not because he didn't look good or show improvements, but that's just how competitive it is now. Like,
yeah.
imagine winning the overall, your first ever show in 2022, and then if you were told 3 years later you're going to come second in your class, even though you look better, I mean, you can't mentally deal with that unless you have a really good grip on the reality of the sport. So I told Chris, I was like, yeah, like show up as well as you can for Chisel, but it's think of it more as like a season and not just a show. Like, okay, the ultimate goal is to show up your very, very best at Universe. We'll take the data from Chiseled and we'll apply it to Universe. And then if you don't get your card at Universe, like that's not gonna be the end of the world because we know we can show up even better the next year. So it's all a process. And I really, really um it really hits me with athletes. Like we have our friend Danny. Danny goes to the gym with us, or Lynn that was also on the podcast. These people have been doing national shows for years, years, and years, and they're still
Mhm.
not getting their card. Like Danny's done, I think, 10 years of national shows, and now he's going back to universe again. And I have the utmost respect for those athletes that they don't make excuses. They just keep showing up better.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't expect it. So from my first show to my second show, I did improve a lot from first to second. They told me conditioning, conditioning. I came in more conditioned the second time. But then after that, it was just, they told me you could continue to do shows and do nationals, but in reality, you're very small. They were like, you need to grow a little bit more if you want to be competitive. So that's why when I decided to sign up with Ludacris, I signed up with him December of 2023, and I didn't compete till December of 2024. Now, I didn't start prep till late July. So we did two building phases from December to July. And then in July, I started prep.
What was incorporated within those building phases? Like what changed from your first coach to Ludacris, like as far as the nutrition, and the training?
Well, everything changed. Like I wanted a coach who was going to be very organized because I am on a schedule. Like I don't work out in the morning because oh, I love to wake up early and go work out. No, maybe sometimes I would like to sleep in, but I can't because I have to be in an office, sitting down by a certain time, and I have an office hour job. So going after work is a lot. So for me, having somebody who had everything in one place was very important because I couldn't go back from WhatsApp or from like text messages or like different spreadsheets. That gets me very anxious when I can't find things right away. So he was the coach that I interviewed that had the most organization. So from my meal plan, my supplements, my training to my body work, my vacuum coach, my sleep, he's in charge of it all, and it's everything documented in one app. Like I said, I wish I could be one of those athletes that tracks everything, but sometimes it's very difficult for me. So that's why that macro plan sometimes doesn't work for me, and that meal plan does that he programs for me because I need to just grab and go. So
The
he made
convenience.
everything, yeah, he made everything very convenient for me. So before, I was probably eating very little. I remember my first prep, I was probably like 800, 900 calories towards the end. Like with him, I don't think I went lower than 1200 for like my last weeks. Uh, I had peak weeks with other coaches where, they took my water. He didn't take my water. I was drinking my water throughout the entire day. Um, he really didn't play too much with variables. Like I was accustomed to people like trying new things. So when I compare him to the other coaches that I've had, I would just say that I felt like he made everything for me. Like everything that I told him, he redid it for whatever I needed. So if I have to work out at 5 a.m., I was like, listen, I can't have a gigantic meal at 5 a.m. Like my body just won't do it. Some days I have to train fasted depending on what I'm training. So can we maybe do a heavier meal at night? Like a prima rice or something, oatmeal at night, so I could just wake up and maybe have a protein and go. So it's that he made everything easier. I'm eating more. He's in tune with everything that I take. So like if I have to do vitamins, if I'm getting sick and I have to take, I have thyroid issues where my thyroid sometimes is a little low. So when I get blood work, he's always on top of it. He's like, oh, you got to go to the doctors, make sure that we don't have to go back and increase your thyroid medication or decrease it, let them. So he's very in tune with everything that I'm doing.
That's a
And
good
I
coach.
I
That's a good
never
coach.
had that. I never had somebody who did everything. And I could just,
They're invested in you as much as you're invested in them, you know.
It's
yeah.
rare to get a coach that actually listens.
One
So
minute, I'm gonna grab a charger.
yeah,
Yeah.
most
Mhm.
most coaches just dictate or they tell you, you join their roster. We got it's
Michael Jordan just assume.
that's all actually
That
uh,
was
but
perfect timing.
but yeah, I would say a lot of coaches try to dictate how they've done it before. Let's say they have 80 athletes, right? Um, this is what works for all these athletes. I've done it before, and it gives them this false sense of they know everything when in
Yeah.
fact, like there's six
Anyone could
billion,
lose weight at
there's
600
six, 7 billion
calories.
bodies in the world. So just because you have 80 people does not mean you have it figured out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, yeah, having coaches that actually listen to you, and I think also some coaches overextend themselves to the point where maybe they started off customized, but then they get so many athletes that they lose that customization, and then but they don't know it because it happens very subtly over time. And
Yeah.
before you know it, it's like here's what you're doing, and it's basically the same thing the other girl's doing or the other guy's doing, and they don't even realize it. So it's good that you found a coach that actually listens. So I hope if any coaches are watching this or listening that they take that part seriously because it's better to have 40 athletes you can take care of than 80 athletes that
You're gonna
you really
wash.
just
Yeah.
you can't manage all that.
But she said something that's interesting too. Like I didn't hear that before. Like you interviewed coaches. How many coaches did you interview, and what did that process look like for you?
Yeah.
What a
So
lawyer process to go
Yeah.
about finding a coach.
Yeah, interviewing.
Where were you on September?
give me some more information now. So the funny thing is, most of my friends, my like circle friends, are non-bodybuilding related. Like if they've gone to a show, it's because I'm competing and they want to show support. I don't really, I've tried to make some friends like Lynn. She's a wonderful girl. Like She's somebody that I text and I message and I ask questions. My friend Stephanie from Reddit, I message her because she's knowledgeable. She's done a lot of shows. So I'm like, hey, but I don't have a lot of friends who really are into this sport, I
World.
guess, right? And in the world, they don't understand it. So I think, wait, what was the question again?
The interviewing the coaches
Yeah.
aspect.
Okay.
Like,
So I don't have anybody to talk to about this. I don't have anybody to like ask them. So I went on Instagram and I created a note like on my iPhone and I started putting people's names and people's Instagram handles. And then I just started going on their websites and that some people have like oh, you need a consultation and it's a consultation fee. Other people are like, oh, just schedule it with me. We'll do a Zoom meeting. I was like, okay, or a phone call. So I just started putting people on the calendar and kind of be like, okay, when can you talk? When can you talk? When can you talk? And then I wrote a set of questions of like things that I wasn't willing to do and things that I was willing to do. Um, and then I told them the questions. And I was like, hey, are you going to be upset, if I ask you a lot of questions? Like, I had somebody who coached me for a little while who I would ask a lot of questions because I was just, intrigued about the process. I don't know much of it,
Learning.
right? So I was using Google and I kind of was like, oh, maybe you could explain it to me better. And they would get upset about it. They would be like, oh, you question me all the time. And I was like, I'm not questioning you. Like, I just want to know
I
what
want
we're
to learn.
I want to learn. So maybe if I see something that's not following, whatever I'm supposed to be doing and my body's doing something else, maybe I should be aware. So I would
Yes.
ask them very like foundational questions, right? Aside from, oh, how much do you charge? Do you do macros or meal plans? For me, it was more like, how do you take your clients through a prep? uh, how long do you put them in a prep for? Like, do you decide everything, or does the client have some input in the plan that you're putting in? Do you check blood work? If I tell you, no, I'm not doing this, are you going to be upset? Or is the relationship going to change? Are you going to listen to me and not be offended? So that's what I did with every single one. And with Ludacris, it honestly just came down to being organized. I'm gonna be with you like 100%. He was early for the meeting. He was answering all the questions. Like at some point, it just felt too good to be true because he was just answering all the questions and answering. And I also, one of the biggest thing was, I work. So are you going to affect, right, my work schedule? Like, are you going to put more things that are going to pressure me instead of making this like something
Less
that I
stressful.
do and that I could excel at for the both of us, Or are you just going to like run me through the ground because whatever, we got to win, I was like, I'm very like, okay, if this show doesn't work, I'm willing to wait a little longer. So that's what I had to do in order to be able to see what coach would be good with my personality, because not everybody likes somebody like me. I am very type A. So like I write everything out and I send messages and I follow up and I could be a little bit high maintenance for a coach, but also I'm not a client that's messaging them all the time. Like my high maintenance comes once in a while when I need information that I can't find anywhere else. So the questioning and the interviewing process was not too crazy. It was like 30 minutes with each coach, and I let them talk pretty much, and they just answered my questions.
I,
But
I,
Ludacris,
I wish I do wish that more people do that though, because I mean I've been in bad with bad coaches, and nothing against them. It just everyone has their coaching style, and
mhm,
sometimes you connect and sometimes you don't. And how do you really do that without formally meeting? You just going based off their prior resumes and their prior successes. But as Alex pointed out, everyone's different. Some people may take longer. You're humble enough to be like, hey,
Well,
I'm not ready for this show. Let's push out to the next show. And then just, hey, communication.
I mean,
That
there's difference between a coach like, okay, maybe they prefer meal plans or macros and stuff. That's fine. But there are things that I think Chris and I have dealt with coaches that are just straight up just not acceptable and just
Mm.
wrong. So I think that's another thing where like I think some coaches use it almost as like a protective excuse of like, well, this is how I do things and therefore I can treat you this way. At the end of the day, that's just not the truth. Like when my old coach was making me eat 6,000 calories a day and I was having digestion issues and all these problems and literally like you, Sully, I'm very curious. I asked a lot of questions. G knows I like to have information. And I simply asked like, is this normal? Because this is happening, blah, blah, blah. And he would basically just say like, that's normal, suck it up. Like, and that's just not true. Like I remember asking, I was like, what kind of markers do you look at, like health wise, when someone's pushing 6,000 calories a day? And he thought that it was ridiculous, and he kept saying, "Well, it's only going to go up from here anyway, so you better get used to it." And I just was like, that is just an irresponsible way. Like at the end of the day, I hired you and I trust you with my body, my health. Like, yes, to a certain point, this is not healthy, but it doesn't need to be that way. And if you truly feel like 6,000 calories is the right move, at least defend it in a logical manner and explain it to me that way. So I think that's where it's like I definitely think that different styles are fine, but there are certain things that like coaches need, especially in today's day and age where so many people are so desperate for pro cards now that they will literally do anything. And that's where I think the coaches now need to kind of level up and need to realize like, hey, we need to like control this and take ownership for our role in the sport.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
goes to like you being an individual, right? And you're not just another number on the board. So they care about the athlete, and the athlete is looking at the coach as the mentor and the guide and the direction, but obviously to do things in the safest way and to get you to where you want to go in a good amount of time, like, but with anything, I feel like the you asking questions, I tell my athletes all the time, I'm like, ask me as many questions as you want 24/7. I'm here to help you. I like to learn about you, and everything there is about you. I like to learn because that helps me with the decisions that I need to make, and the more that you can be transparent with me, the easier it is to adjust things, and that way we all can be in sync.
and this is where I would give my coach G his flowers. I've been with coaches before where I try to communicate, but then they like kind of shut you up and shut you down. So
mm,
it kind of like shrinks your voice a little bit. But being able to communicate with your coach and him actually adjusting to it, that's where you, like yourself, you feel that the diet plan is customized. Because I've been with coaches where it's like, okay, you got to eat tilapia and asparagus for 6 months. And I'm like, oh, I'm a man. One, two, I'm gonna lose muscle if I'm doing 2 hours of cardio on top of that. It's like this doesn't make sense, and that's why I said anyone could lose weight at eating 600 calories, for 12 weeks. But what type of look are you going for?
yeah. So I've noticed that at least for me with Ludacris, if I have an issue with something regarding like my meals, let's say I can't. Recently, I told him I was 6 times a day. We're like in a mini cut right now because we kind of want to see where we're at so we could plan ahead for 2026. But I told him, I was like, we need to do something with the meals because there's times that I am working and maybe, it goes a little longer than my eating time. And then I'm sitting here in my desk starving and I can't leave the Zoom to be like, oh, hey guys, I need to go eat. Can we take a 10-minute break? Sometimes we have already taken that break, right? So I was like, can we do maybe like 3 protein shakes instead of 2? Because it's 6 meals, and maybe I can mix it with like an oatmeal or something, right? So he immediately messages me back and he's like, okay, yeah, let's try that. Let's see how your body responds to 3 protein shakes instead of 2 protein shakes, right? So that's something that I wasn't accustomed to. So having a coach that is very responsive and allows you to speak and you feel confident also, sharing and asking questions has made that balance that people seek so much easier. because I'm not tiptoeing and I'm not scared of doing things or not doing things. And it doesn't, it's not conducive because then I will be lying to my coach, right? Because then I'm going to be afraid that I did something and then they're probably going to be upset at me because I didn't ask the question, but then I didn't feel confident enough asking the question because maybe the question was stupid and they were going to be like, oh, that's a dumb question, you know? So I feel like being confident and being comfortable with the person that's coaching you is very important when you don't do this full time specifically.
Yes. Yes.
When you do this full time, you may have more time to like get to know your body. Maybe you have more experience with the foods and you have more experience with the training, and you don't need like as much help. But somebody who's beginning and somebody who may not have all the time in the world to learn their own body, they're going to have somebody who you could bounce ideas off and be like, hey, do you think I'm doing this right? Like, I'm sorry I'm bothering you, but do you think maybe we should switch the rice for potatoes, maybe? You know, I think that's very important.
Yeah, I know. Like G and I were talking because he had potatoes in my meal plan, but I didn't like potatoes because they don't store well. Like you eat them once and they taste good, and then they get kind of soggy really quick. So I asked
Mhm.
if we could switch like pasta or rice for that, and then he was explaining to me, oh, potatoes actually have a lower carb uh,
Glycemic
yeah,
index.
index. So basically, I have to if I'm gonna do rice or pasta instead, I basically have to subtract 25 grams off that to make up for. So like if he gave me
Oh, yeah,
125,
the volume of the
right? So
protein.
if it's like 125 potato, then it's like 100 rice instead. So it's not. So that's what I've been doing is like it's just having that flexibility that I can then. Oh, okay, I prefer rice right now. I'll just subtract 25 grams and it's going to be closer. So things like that are helpful. Even if you're in a meal plan, like there's some flexibility. So like I've just enjoyed rice and pasta a lot more than potato. And it hasn't really messed up my physique at all. So it's good to know anyway that all three of them kind of work for my body.
Yeah, a tip for the potatoes, because I do hate that too. I actually boil them all together and I make like mashed potato and then I freeze it, right? And sometimes I freeze it in like molds, like cubes and stuff, already weighed out to like whatever I need. And then I just put that block in the air fryer with a little bit of the avocado spray, and it turns into a crispy potato, and the inside is
Jeez.
That
soft
sounds
Dude, you
and
need to
good.
mushy.
can you make like a reel one day and just like go through your process of potatoes?
That
I
sounds really good, actually.
I'm really bad with the social media because I post in real time, right? So like I post as I go during the day. I don't have anything like pre-planned. So like if I didn't record, I will not be posting because I
Yeah.
don't have anything to
You're doing
post. Like,
something right. You have 16,000 followers, so I mean,
so I started just with like silly little transformations of myself and things like that. And then I got really like into like the Reddit community, like I told you guys, and I was like commenting there and like making friends
also
online.
a lot of Reddit followers.
There's a lot of people that like most of the people that follow me are mostly people that I've probably never met in my life, aside from, high school friends or like co-workers, and now people in the industry, of course. But before it
That's
was just
crazy.
people who I would post random things on Reddit, and people would be like, "Oh wow, look at you." Um, but I definitely never had the goal to be a bodybuilder. Like I didn't even know it existed, like I said. So I really just worked on my health at first. I wanted to feel good. I was, like I said, I was very fatigued. I was very tired all the time. And I felt like I needed a change. I was prioritizing the wrong things in life. And the older I was getting, so I'm going to be 33 this year. So the older that I was getting, it was like, oh man, like, my knees are really hurting, or I am can't focus at work, or all I'm doing is going out and
Yeah.
drinking and eating out all the time. And I was like, how do I feel better? Like, how do I get to waking up every morning and not being bloated or not being swollen? I used to suffer a lot from eczema as well before. And I realized that it had to do a lot with like
Stress.
Food.
gluten,
Yeah.
Gluten, yeah.
Stress too.
the refined oils. I didn't know any of this. So I would just have food whenever, at whatever time. It didn't matter to me. I didn't know the consequences of it until I started feeling very poorly. So I decided to make a change. And that's when I was like, I'm going all in. Like, we're not going to do a yo yo diet. We're not going to just take some magic pills, that's going to do a quick effect like people think. Or, no, I said, I'm going to commit. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to learn how to cook my macro friendly meals and I'm going to make it work. And I did at the beginning. I was going to the gym at night after work, and it was very stressful. Like I said, a lot of people,
I can't
I
do
get
it.
I get
I'm
very anxious
I'm in
because
software sales, so I work a similar like nine to five
schedule.
schedule and going after work, like I like to get it out of the way in the morning so that I know because I can control when my day starts, but not when my day ends. So, and I also just don't I feel like I have more energy. Maybe it takes a while for people to like wake up and get used to. I'm not naturally a morning person, but then once you get used to it, I just feel like I'm better in the gym in the morning than
In the afternoon.
in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Yeah. And I also just I tend to like the people that go in the morning more just because you get more of the serious
Yeah.
crowd, right? Like people that are really serious about staying in shape and getting in shape are usually going before the people at the end of the night. It's a little bit more of a mix.
Mm.
So, but I to your point, I think I've a lot of people ask me, or people that don't bodybuild, like, oh, like, but that's so bad for you and all that. It's like, well, there's definitely a way to do bodybuilding in an unhealthy way. But if you really do it smart, are there negative things about it? Absolutely. But if you really think about the average person and how much they're drinking, how little they're sleeping, how like the sugar they're eating, the processed food they're eating, I guarantee you that the bodybuilding health is way above it. Even if like, okay, when you're 5 weeks out and you're that depleted, like it's not the best for you. But most of the year, unless you're running the gauntlet with shows, it can be done in a pretty healthy way. And I've noticed that even if I have one in the off season. I stay really disciplined in the off season, but if once in a while I do go out and I drink or I do something, oh man, my body like even if I don't do it a lot, like just a couple of drinks, my body notices the smallest change. It's so sensitive to anything. And I just start to think, I'm like, I mean, I know I'm 35, but like I used to do this with ease, even
Hmm.
when I was like 30, 31, and now I can't even handle it. My body is like not about it.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know if you guys have also noticed like how sensitive you are to doing anything that's not on your plan, but
Well, I have ADHD, as and with a brain injury on top of that, my brain's always everywhere. So I think with structure, I feel just more safe, and like, okay, I know what I'm doing, A, B, C, D. So that's one less thought that I have to worry about. Now, whenever I'm off my plan, I could tell that my ADHD and everything is like at an all-time high because I'm like, okay, now I got to think about food. Now I got to think about protein. And then you're all over the place. So me personally, I just like the structure of having, this and that. But, once in a while, of course, you go out to enjoy food and, the balance.
Yeah, so it's funny because before when I started this, I thought balance was, I work out, I go to the gym, and then maybe the weekends I just don't track anything and I just eat. That's balance. Or balance is eating whatever you want, whenever you want, so long as you exchange it for like a big meal in your plan. And I realized that that's for me specifically, that's not the case. Like I can't be very strict in the off season personally because I am so strict during my season.
Hmm.
So during my off season, I do try and I tell my coach always, I was like, I need my free meals. I need to be able to eat something and then put it in my check-in without you being like,
Judging
oh
me.
no, why did you do that? Because I also have to do things. If I'm not competing and I'm not shoving 20 muffins down my throat every single day, like a little thing here and there, it's very important. Like for me, even when I have to reverse, that's something that I am really working on. It's very difficult for me because I like to get everything back to normal as fast as possible. So after the first show, it was hard for me to find that balance of enjoying the meals and over enjoying the meals. So,
Well, you kind of get like a eat like after the first show is like kind of like an eating disorder because you see the food and you never think you're gonna see it again because you go on these like you said the yo-yo diets. So
mhm.
and as G always tells me, it's like, hey, once you introduce that foreign object into your body that you haven't had, you're only gonna crave more.
Dopamine goes.
Well, the
Yeah,
final 6 weeks to me are so much easier mentally than the first because I almost get desensitized. It's like I even forget what that food tastes like. I'm just like, okay, you get in this almost like euphoric state of just fatigue, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't even like crave a pizza that much anymore. I mean, I do,
I don't know, but I'm a
but
week and a half out. I'm craving
no,
everything,
I'm
bro.
craving it. That's not what I
And my
meant. I
Instagram is
know
going bananas right now.
I crave it.
Everything.
That's not what I meant. I guess it just for me, I find it a little bit easier than in like week 8 out because
Yeah.
uh it's not the same I guess flow state that I get in when I'm that close to a show. And I think also when you get that close to a show, you're so locked in that you're even farther away from even wanting to cheat. But
Yeah.
the only thing I miss, just I've been on plans so long, like even in my off season, the same like rice meal, this. Ever since I switched to my last coach and went off macros to meal plans,
Mhm.
I'm Persian, so I love my cheese, my olives and stuff. Not that I would overeat it, so like I would still put that in the macros. Now, obviously, my fat source is very controlled to like almonds and almond butter. So I know for me, what I'm gonna join the off season is maybe having a little more variety of the
Mhm.
food. Even though I definitely want to stay within like 20 pounds of my stage weight, I don't want to go crazy.
We got to get Alex a charcuterie board.
Yeah. No, but it's really important to know yourself, right? And we talked about this on I think the previous podcast, but like there's in terms of some people can have that flexibility, but like an elastic band, like they never go out of their range and they're very good about, well, okay, I had this, so I can sacrifice this later because I got that piece of cheese in the morning, so that ate that fat. I don't need another one at night or whatever it is. But there's some people that it's like Pandora's box, and unfortunately for those people, they have to be able to just set bigger barriers for themselves. So it really
Boundaries.
depends on the person. You have to be very honest with yourself
Yeah.
about what you are because even when I was doing macros, I was never really going outside the line. That being said, I think if you're at the trying to compete at the highest level, it's important to control as many variables as possible. So I am definitely glad that I've been on plan for so long. Um, but I also needed, so I was like you, I needed more size. I needed, I was natural in all the shows I did until now. So I wanted to learn the ins and outs and do it the right way before I introduced, the PEDs and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I think it's hard. You have to be disciplined and you have to be hard on yourself. But I was a psych when I first started. I was tracking my gum. Like I was going crazy. Like I just didn't like I'm not like if I weighed 151 grams of rice, I would take out 1 grain of rice, and it was like I was a psychopath. But I had to go through it. I just wanted to prove myself I could do it, and then I was like, all right, I know I can do it, so I can not be such a psychopath anymore.
Yeah, I personally know that I could go off pretty fast.
Yeah.
I was listening to podcasts about this recently, something called food noise, that like when you, let's say you buy things and you just leave them there, you see it and it's like it's there all the time. So you just want to eat all of it. So then it's not there anymore, right? So I used to do that a lot when I was pretty much like in law school and stuff. So for me, I have to be very careful.
What were
So,
the food choices? What were the foods?
oh my God, very bad choices. I am a very like candy person. So
Oh,
I
okay.
like to have, I don't like to have them anymore because my body can't take it really. But like I used to have a lot of gummies, like gummy bears, gummy worms, all this sugary
You like the
stuff.
Sour Patch strips?
I used to love them. I used
Yeah.
to love all of those stuff. And every time I eat them now, I realize that my body just doesn't take them well. So For me,
knowing your body is good though, because now you know, like, hey, I'm feeling a little bloated. Maybe my stomach doesn't agree with this, and then you stay
yes.
away from the foods.
So now you're willing, it's like, what am I willing to sacrifice? Do I really want that Jolly Rancher, or would I rather just not eat it because I don't want to feel bad after? So that's something that I am actively working on, because since I wasn't expecting to get to where I'm at so fast, without me preparing. Now, if I want to be competitive in the pro level, I need to be more careful, and I need to have more control over those desires of like, oh, I want to eat this right now. And I could just go and get it, or I could just go and order it. And I have to sit back and think, should I really, like, what is that food going to do to
Is
me?
it
Or
worth it?
what is that candy, that cookie? Like, is it really something that I'm willing to put into my diet today that tomorrow may affect me a little greater than I would have wanted? So I am working on that, because I feel like I need to get a little more serious with everything. I know that it's a hobby, but it's also a hobby that
You're
really
learning
makes
yourself.
and it really makes me happy. I could
You're
tell you that I've never been this happy in my life. The sport truly transformed me, not just like physically, because
Mentally.
mentally.
everybody looks at that physical transformation. It's like, wow, I want to have a transformation like that. But
You
I
gotta
am
dig deep. You
a
gotta dig deep.
different person than I was back then. I used to, like I said, I used to be very impulsive, very emotional. Um, Everything was like relative to how I was feeling, how my environment was going. So it taught me restraint. It taught me to be careful and think things through, to really question things as well. And just pay more attention to what I need. Like now it's crazy, but like I know when my thyroid levels are low. I know when my iron is a little funky, and
You're
maybe
into with the
yeah,
body,
it's like I'm one with myself.
mind, body, soul.
I never thought that was possible. So now, like, if I go to a restaurant and people hate this from me, like, I carry a little pocket scale sometimes, because there's just things that I'm not willing to do, right? Or I'll ask the lady, like, oh, does this have any oils? Does it have any butters? Is it gluten free? Like, and
Yeah.
to some people it's silly because they're not accustomed to those things, but I
But
want
they
to.
also look at you weird
You,
too when you're like, hey, I don't want no oil, no cheese,
but
this and that.
but
And they're
but
like, oh, okay.
it also happens the flip side. I was at my sister's graduation the other day, and I remember asking the waiter if they could cook me just blank, chicken, no oil. And he asked like, "Oh, why? Why?" And I told him I'm prepping for a show. Turns out he's actually pretty into bodybuilding, and he had just seen the bodybuilding movie that came out, and we started talking about it. And he, for the rest of the day, like he like bent over backwards to make sure everything was right. And you never know. Like so I've gotten better about not being ashamed of it and just being like, "Hey, this is what I do. This is how I am. You like it or not, I don't care. I like doing it."
Unapologetically, yeah.
And my family has gotten pretty into it too. Not they don't like the sport, but um I remember my mom, she's a great cook. And every time I go home, at first it was kind of like, "Oh, why are you asking what's in it?" kind of thing. And now she'll like ahead of time tell me. And it's like I little things like that I appreciate, but I also try to make it as easy on my family as possible. Like, hey, if I can't have what you guys are eating, that's totally fine. Please enjoy it. I'll figure something out for myself. So I try to be very low maintenance with it. But I love to do it, and I only feel weird when I'm not with bodybuilding people because then it's like, oh, like you guys don't weigh your stuff, you don't track your water, you don't do all this stuff, and then that's when I feel a little, I guess, like an outsider.
Out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to feel ashamed about it, especially when I'm in office. People make jokes all the time, right? It's like, oh, Sully can't eat this, or oh, let's not invite her here because
That's projection. They're
she's not.
projecting.
Oh, for
And
sure.
They
they've done
can't do it.
it often, and I'm just like, it's all right. I could go. I have my lunch. I brought my lunch, or I was like, I could go and order like a salmon with like asparagus or like spinach. Like it's not like I can't do the things that you guys do. It's just that we live a different lifestyle, or like they go out drinking and I won't even have an alcoholic beverage. I think I haven't had one in quite some time, like actually like drinking. So they'll be like, oh, she doesn't drink, Sully's not gonna have fun today. And it's like, I got fun,
Yeah,
I
I
This
don't
is
need to
it.
drink to have fun, but thank you.
It's almost cool though when you're like
The outsider.
yeah, like you know what I mean, because it's like you're setting a different standard.
Not only
They
that,
people may pick
you're the
and tease,
unicorn.
but yeah, exactly. People may pick and tease, but I feel like they really admire it at the end of the day,
Yep.
deep down
I
inside, subconsciously.
I love doing things that most people can't do.
They
I love
say jealousy is like flattery though.
that
Like
fuels me
it's a
when
form of
people are
flattery.
like, yeah, like that fuels me even more when I know most people can't do it. And that's just a reminder, silly, like when people jab at you or they make comments, I think Chris said it, it's just projection. I think part deep down, it might not, maybe it's like they don't want to bodybuild, but like people see the dedication. And I think a lot of people wishes that they could get to that level of dedication, but there's a reason why there's only a handful of people that can really do it.
Yeah, so I think when you're not around people who bodybuild all the time, there's a lot of doubt of like doing certain things because you don't want to be perceived as like, oh, she's this, or she may think she's better than us, or, because a lot of, I've realized from experience that a lot of people relate you not conforming to what everybody else conforms as like you thinking that you're different than them or that you're better than them. And no, we just have different lifestyles. I have a different course, I have a different dream, and I could still go out with you and I could still go to your birthday party and I could still go to your event. It doesn't mean that because I take my Tupperware, right? I am offending anybody or I am trying to make anybody feel bad. I think that now obviously things are different, but at the beginning it was very hard for me. So I wouldn't like eat in front of people or I wouldn't do certain things because I felt like they were going to feel bad. Now I feel like everybody's more like, okay, well, she's going to bring her food. Don't count her in for the meals. And people have gotten more in tune with it. But in reality, it's like you have to do what you have to do.
100%.
And if you're in prep and you can't, eat at the wedding that you got invited to, you take your little meal and you put it under the table. And
Oh
when
my God,
everybody,
weddings. I can't remember the last wedding I went to that wasn't on prep. And it's like they always land on prep. I have three upcoming and I'm just like, dang, like I
I
don't
got
know.
one this weekend, and
I remember I remember
I
I had one a couple years ago and it was in Jersey in May and it was like rainy and cold. And I remember wanting to drink just to stay warm and I couldn't drink obviously, but I didn't, it wasn't even any other reason than I'm freezing right now. I was like hugging a heat lamp and I was like, I wish I could drink because there are people walking around without jackets and they're completely fine. And I'm here shivering to death like I'm on the Titanic. And it was just so miserable. And then also, like when you're not drinking, it's like you start to speak, they speak a different language than you when they're drinking. They can
yeah.
understand each other, but they can't understand you. So those are the like things I actually miss more about when I can't drink. But yeah, I don't even when I can drink, I never binge anymore. It's usually just like a couple glasses of wine or something. But it's the weird things that I miss. It's not even about necessarily drinking for the sake of drinking. It's more about
the
just being,
times and the
yeah,
experiences.
Social
The
aspects.
being
memories.
like you can be there and usually like if you show up somewhere and you're not drinking, like the beginning's fine, and then it gets to the point where it's like, all right, this has run its course. Like I am no longer part of this crowd right now.
That
And so,
is true.
Yeah.
Sully, I wanted to ask because you mentioned it, but we didn't really dive into it. Looking ahead, what are some of your goals, and are you gonna compete anytime soon? And it doesn't have to be just bodybuilding, but in your career as well.
Well, I love where I work right now. I've been there for almost 3 years, so I don't think I'm going anywhere. It's something that I don't want to stop being an attorney. Like I'm not seeking to quit my job and be something else full time. I truly enjoy what I do. It's hard, it is. There's times that I don't want to get up and do it. There's times that it's just taxing. It's dealing with a lot of people all at once. So I want to stay there because it's a job where they appreciate me. It's a job where when I have competitions, they text me and tell me good luck. And then the competition is over and they check on me. So for now, career-wise, that's where I definitely want to stay in. Bodybuilding, I was supposed to take all of 2025 as a building season, but I had to have surgery in
Oh,
March. Nothing crazy. I had to swap my breast implants from I had some like 15 years ago. So I was having some issues with one. So the doctor's like, let's just swap them. It's been too long. So I was out of the gym for like 8 to 10 weeks. So that kind of set me back because I couldn't properly build. I can't train post surgery. The recovery, I think it wasn't the best for me. My body was just not reacting well to like the medication and the bloatness, and they open you up, so it's a whole thing with your body. So I actually had a talk with my coach last check-in, and that's when we decided to do the mini cut. I have 3 more weeks for the mini cut, and we're gonna see how I look. Like with the body fat that I have on, with the weight and everything, I am probably like 30 pounds up from stage weight or around there. So,
you don't look it. I mean, you just, I guess, distribute your weight well. No, guy, I saw you in the gym the other day, and
yeah,
whenever I see you in the gym, you're kind of like focused. Like
yeah.
just.
Sometimes I can't even see because I'm like seeing blurry and I'm like, who is who? But I gain weight pretty quickly post shows. This is not the first time it happens to me. That's why I told you guys I need to control myself better. I know that there's room for improvement for me there.
But
Uh,
give yourself grace too, because it is a process. And even more so, not to make it sexist, but for females, like just that bounce back, that rebound phase, you're gonna retain more water. You're gonna retain, excess inflammation, especially being wellness. How many times you train legs?
right now, I'm 3 times a week, and that's because I'm in a post-surgery training. Before it was like 4 times a week.
So your
Yeah.
body's gonna retain a lot more. So give yourself grace.
Yeah, I'm just one of those people that, at least for my hormones, because I do lose my cycle towards the end of my preps. It happens in every prep. At least for this one was only 2 months. So it was just October, November, and December. By the end of January, I already had my cycle back. So, but that was because I took a full week off of not only training, but also the diet. And I told my coach, I was like, listen, I'm just gonna eat because I need my body to like speed it
Rebound.
up.
Yeah.
I need my hormones back in check. Like I feel like I
Out of whack.
can't any longer. I
Yeah.
had a 22-week prep. So it was a little longer than I have ever done. So we decided to finish the mini cut, see where we're at muscle wise, and then push for a building season, and probably we'll start prep towards the end of the year, like late the year, just so I could be ready for a show. Like the goal is to be ready and just pick, not have to do too much. I don't want
Right.
to go through a full crazy phase of losing the 30 pounds again. I want to get to a weight where I could maintain and I feel good physically, hormonally, everything, and then push again.
Right. No, it's a smart way to do it.
Do you have
Especially,
any aspirations of like, coaching, on the side, or even just like helping, females with posing? Because my girlfriend, she's a wellness, or she's gonna be competing in wellness too, and I think with your mindset, it'll definitely help her, at least grow more mature, or like get more information from, females' perspective.
Yeah, and she could always message me, give her, you guys have my cell phone, she could text me, call me. So posing, I don't charge people for posing. I don't like everybody that I help for posing is because I want to and I want to give you cues so you could be the best. I don't consider myself an expert in that area, so I don't want to charge money for something. I may be good at it because I've worked at it, right? And I had a great posing coach that really helped me with my body, but I genuinely just do it because I want to help people with whatever they may be struggling, or maybe I see something and I'm like, oh, maybe if you do this, you look a little better. So posing, no, I don't do posing sessions, classes, none of that. But if anybody has questions, needs help or anything, I am always open. I always answer. Sometimes I take a little longer because I get overwhelmed. Sometimes there's a lot of things going on, and I'm like, I don't want to respond to all these questions. But then I sit down and I knock them all out at once. Coaching. So during COVID, I got my personal trainer
Sir.
certification. And you know that they have like, I guess, little certification courses where you could do like a bodybuilding course or like a nutrition course.
Yeah, I got mine through ISSA, or yeah.
That's the same one. So I did that during that period because I wanted to get into bodybuilding, right? So I was like, oh, maybe if I get my certification, I'm going to learn things and I'm going to be able to apply them. So I decided to take a few lifestyle people at the beginning to like see how it worked. And now I have like 12 lifestyle clients. I really don't
Wow.
take, yeah, I really don't take anything more than like 15 would be a max because I don't have the time. And they all, it's like we're all very close. So, like, there's one who she's getting married soon, and we've been prepping for her wedding because she wants to fit into this beautiful dress. And, it's like I'm very hands-on. I go to her dress fittings, and we're like, okay, now we got to do this, and now we got to do that.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
dope.
A different kind of
yeah,
show. Mhm.
it's a different kind of show, right? So
Yeah.
like people that I kind of coach is more of a lifestyle. Nobody wants to really compete. And I just do it because I want to help people and I really enjoy like seeing the progress. So most of these lifestyle clients that I have are people who have known me from work, from uh, class that I've gone to, and they're like, "Hey,
That's
can
how it
you?"
starts, though. That's how it starts, and then you got a whole, plethora of.
Yeah, so that's all I've really been doing regarding like fitness related. Um, Only because you do need to dedicate a lot of time to this, right? You gotta be very knowledgeable too. And I feel like I have a lot to learn still. So I'm constantly learning and looking at things online and
Asking questions, yeah.
researching and asking questions because everybody's different, right? So I have two guys also. And guys are completely different than girls could be, right? So it's been fun, but I don't think it's something that I would have the capacity to do like with more people.
It'll be hard with your
It's,
career.
yeah, it's
Very
very
hard.
Yeah.
demanding. It's very demanding. And I,
And,
I like
and again, dealing with all the personalities, you're just dealing with, all the all day, every day. That's very exhausting on your own energy too. So I know I
Oh,
feel you when you say, hey, sometimes I don't want to reply and I just want to, you know,
yeah,
vibe
'cause
out.
it's hard. It's hard sometimes, people.
Mental burnout is real.
Yeah, and aside from like actual work, because that's like a responsibility, right? That I have to show up to my job no matter what. If not, the bills are not going to get paid.
Yeah.
So that's something that I have to do, whether I'm happy or whether I'm not. But when it comes to coaching, these people are not only trusting you with their body and their diets and their training, but they may be having a bad day, they may be going through a breakup. They may be having food issues or body image issues. And sometimes you have to be that person who they could
Reassures
talk
them.
to, they could vent to. Also, you need to be that person to put them back in check and be like, hey, and you also have to do it differently with everybody because maybe one girl likes a softer conversation and maybe with the guy you got to be a little bit more like hey like what's going on, why are you eating a burger every single day, so it's a little different. Like you can't approach people with the same way, the same style of training of coaching because like that you're never
Cookie
gonna
cutter. Yeah, it's not cookie cutter. Every person has a different personality, and that's why I say you're dealing with so many personalities. You got to wear like different faces for different people, and that's not essentially being fake. But as a coach, you got to, you know, be there for that person. And how do you be there for that person?
yeah, but that has helped me a lot. I have learned a lot. I've learned about other people's bodies and that kind of has assisted me to learn more about mine and see okay, well look, this worked for her, maybe if we do this maybe it will work even better. So it's like all trial and error too because you're trying to learn these people that maybe you only knew very superficially, or maybe they were just your friends, but then now you're digging deep into their habits, right? So you have to call them out on the certain things, and you don't want to cross those boundaries of like, we're friends outside of the coaching. So I want to make sure that you feel respected, but that you also know that I'm here as your friend, you know?
100%. I mean, it's all relationship at the end of the day. And we know that best with G, obviously he coaches us. So but Sully, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast.
I wanted to ask something on the
Oh,
topic of coaching. Sully, I saw that you were on my coach's page, Josh, the other day. Are you working at an Iron University?
Oh,
He's got you training with him now?
okay. So after talking to Ludacris,
Yeah.
realized that I am lacking in some areas. I train with fear, right? I train until I can, and I don't really push myself a little more because I'm scared of getting injured, or because I'm scared of pushing those limits, or I don't know what those limits are. So I've been looking for a personal trainer, and he trains the guy that does all my body work, Daniel from Relax and Get Results.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, so I've been seeing them since 2023, since I started this. So he was like, "Oh, you should go see Josh. You should go see Josh." And I was
Yeah.
like, "I don't know, I'm scared." And I went once, and I was sore for an entire week.
They don't play with the glute and leg training and any training over there. Iron University.
He was putting seatbelts on me, and
Yeah.
never trained like this. So he's helping me right now with lower body once a week, because I realize that I have things that I need to work on if I want to get to the next level. And training is one of them. And being on top of that, nutrition all year round without losing sight of the goal is something that I want to get better at, because I feel like I'm a little lost right now just because I wasn't ready for this big jump. So now I need to get ready for the next jump, which would be to hopefully, do a pro show and be successful in one and qualify, maybe potentially one day to be in the Olympia. So to do that, I have to do a lot of corrections in how I'm running my preps and how I'm running my fitness in general. So I had to get serious with myself and see where my flaws were. And training is one of my biggest flaws right now.
No stones left unturned.
Literally. So right now we're doing one by one, and I had to get with somebody who would take me to that level.
Yeah.
And Josh has really worked me those past two sessions.
so
Yes. Josh is a great coach, great trainer. I can say nothing but great things about him. I've known him since we were little. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I look forward to both you growing.
Yeah. So we just had two sessions. I'll see him again next Monday at 5:30.
Well, Silly, we are excited to see you and what you bring to the stage next year. And obviously we look forward to seeing you in the gym, and we're all going for our goals. But it's been great having you on the podcast. Did want to mention this podcast is brought to you by Wolfpack. We align with our mindset of never average, always a wolf. Use code lifted at checkout and make your mark. Silly, we will be rooting for you in your future shows.
Thank
You
you.
please let us know when you have your pro debut so we can either be there or tune in through the stream. But yeah, no, I think there's a bright future for you. You have a very calculated, educated mindset, and you're very open to feedback and learning. So I think a lot of athletes can take something from this episode. Let's get a squad pick real quick for the gram. But yes, please keep us updated on your plans. And
Yes, I know what shows you guys are going to do here. I know you guys said the chiseled. I know that's in
Chris
Hope
is
already.
Chris is chiseled next weekend. Wow, that came up quick.
Yeah.
That sounds
And
crazy saying it out
then
loud,
he
huh?
will do
Then the
It
universe.
didn't even
universe.
it didn't register that it was next week to
Yeah,
me.
and then he does universe. Then I'm doing Battle of the Bodies, and then G is doing first call out, and then G and I are doing Amateur Olympia together. So we have
Nice.
It's gonna be a busy year. It's gonna be a busy year. And
Well, I'll be
he has other
guys for
competitors
sure.
too. So there's other I mean, gee, how many athletes do you have competing in the fall? Quite a few, right?
Two maybe handfuls. I can't keep it track because I have lifestyle clients too. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
definitely more people than last year. I'm looking forward to the season.
yeah, well, I will be in that show. I'm gonna go to the Chiseled show. Um, and Battle of the Bodies, I went last year, so I will most likely be there too. I've never been to First Call Outs, but I'll probably go to that one. I've heard is a really good show, so I could cheer you guys on.
I did
Can't
Battle
wait.
Bodies in 2023, and now they've added Pro Men's Physique, not just Pro Bikini. So it's gonna be a pretty big show just because I believe it's both Bikini and Men's Physique's last chance to qualify. So
Yeah,
for the O. So it's gonna be pretty good. But
Thank you, Sully.
yeah,
thank you for
thank
having
you,
Talking
me.
to
Sully.
you.
This was fun. Bye.